Have you ever had that feeling where you just want to tear everything down and start over from scratch? Well, imagine doing that, but with all of human knowledge. That is exactly what René Descartes, one of history's greatest minds, set out to do. So let's dive into his incredible quest to find one single, unshakable truth. No, really, stop and think about that for a second. How do you know, for sure, that everything you're seeing and hearing right now isn't just some hyper-realistic dream? This isn't just some fun thought experiment. This was the very question that triggered a huge intellectual crisis for Descartes, and it's what sent him down a rabbit hole of the deepest philosophical doubt you can imagine. You see, Descartes had one of the best educations money could buy in Europe. He read all the great books, he studied all the right subjects, but the more he learned, the more he felt like he knew, well, nothing. At least not for certain. He felt like the entire grand structure of knowledge was built on a foundation of sand. To Descartes, the philosophies and sciences of his day were like these magnificent, beautiful palaces. They looked amazing on the outside, but when he looked closer, he realized they were all built on nothing but sand and mud. They lacked any kind of solid, certain foundation, and he knew he had to start digging for something real. And what's wild is just how total his disappointment was. He looked at philosophy and just saw endless arguments where nobody ever agreed on anything. He looked at the sciences and realized, wait a minute, these are all based on that same shaky philosophy. What about customs and traditions? Well, those change depending on what country you're in, so they can't be the ultimate truth. And his own personal opinions? He realized most of those were just ideas he picked up as a kid, long before he could think critically. So he made a decision. Trust none of it. Okay, so what do you do when you can't trust centuries of brilliant thinkers or even your own culture? Descartes made a really radical choice. He decided to just ditch all the traditional books and learning. Instead, he would search for truth in only two places: inside his own mind, or, as he put it, in the great book of the world. So picture this. It's the 1600s. Descartes, a young man, is holed up for the winter in Germany in this small, cozy room heated by a stove. There are no distractions. It's just him and his thoughts. And it was there, in that quiet solitude, that he began to build a brand new method for finding truth, right from ground zero. He came up with this really elegant 4-step method to guide him. And while they're all important, that first one, that one was the absolute game changer. Rule 1, accept nothing is true unless you know it so clearly and distinctly that there is absolutely no possibility of doubt. This became his weapon, his filter for everything. But here's the thing. To find that solid foundation, Descartes had to do something pretty terrifying first. He had to turn that weapon of doubt back on himself, on everything he thought he knew. He was going to systematically demolish every single one of his beliefs, just to see if anything at all, could survive the assault. This is what we now call radical doubt. So what's his first target? His own 5 senses. He says, look, it's just smart to never fully trust anything that has tricked you even one time. And we've all been there, right? A stick looks bent when you put it in water. A tower in the distance looks small and round, but up close, it's huge and square. If our senses can fool us even once, how can we be sure they aren't fooling us right now? Then he takes it to the next level. He realizes that the thoughts and feelings we have when we're awake, well, they can also show up when we're asleep. And when you're in a dream, it feels completely real, doesn't it? So he asks, what if this, right now, is all just an elaborate dream? There's no secret sign, no definitive test to prove you're actually awake. The entire world as you know it could just be an illusion. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but come on, 2 + 2 = 4. That has to be true, whether I'm dreaming or not. But Descartes goes even further. He points out that people make mistakes in reasoning all the time, even with simple math. So isn't it at least possible that he could be mistaken about something that seems completely and totally obvious? And this leads him to his final, ultimate test of doubt. He imagines the absolute worst-case scenario. What if, instead of a good God, there's some kind of evil genius, a supremely powerful demon whose only goal is to deceive him about everything? This evil genius could be tricking his mind into thinking 2 + 2 = 4 when it doesn't. It could make him believe he has a body when he actually doesn't. This being could fake everything. At this point, Descartes has hit absolute rock bottom. Nothing is safe. The senses are gone, the physical world is gone, even basic logic is now in question. Everything has been dissolved by doubt. But it's from this deepest, darkest part of the abyss that he finally finds it, the one thing, the one single truth that the evil genius cannot fake. And there it is, the breakthrough. He realizes that in the very act of doubting, in the very act of being deceived, he has to exist to be deceived. Even if an evil genius is feeding him false thoughts, there has to be a him, a something that is doing the thinking. This is the genius of the cogito. That evil demon can lie about what the sky looks like or whether he has hands, but that demon can never make him believe he doesn't exist, because in order to be tricked, he has to exist in the first place. The very act of thinking, doubting, wondering, that itself is the ultimate proof that he is something. So what is this I that exists? Well, it's not a body, because the evil genius could still be faking that. It's not a name or a history. At its absolute core, this I is, as he says, a thinking thing, a mind, a consciousness. And that is the first solid brick in his brand new foundation for all knowledge. So now, with this one single certain truth, I exist as a thinking thing, Descartes had found what he was looking for. He had a firm, immovable point in a sea of doubt. And from this one tiny point, he was going to try and rebuild all of reality, piece by certain piece. One of the first things he builds from this is a huge split between the mind and the body. The mind, that I he discovered, its whole essence is thinking. It doesn't take up space. The body, on the other hand, its essence is just extension. It takes up space. He argued that these are two completely different kinds of things, a powerful idea that would go on to shape Western philosophy for centuries. Now, getting all the way from I think, therefore I am, back to proving the entire physical world exists, that is a massive leap. And honestly, it's probably the most controversial part of his whole argument. But his basic path went something like this. He realizes that inside his mind, he has this idea of a perfect being, God. Then he thinks, well, I'm an imperfect being, I doubt things, I couldn't have just invented the idea of perfection out of my own imperfect mind. Therefore, a truly perfect God must exist to have put that idea there. And finally, if God is perfect, then God wouldn't be an evil deceiver. And if God's not a deceiver, then his clear and distinct perceptions of the outside world, they must be basically reliable. And just like that, from the deepest pits of doubt, Descartes rebuilt the universe on a new foundation, the rational thinking individual. He basically shifted the entire basis of truth away from ancient authorities and tradition and placed it right inside the self. His journey from doubt to certainty really is what kicks off modern philosophy as we know it. Descartes put everything he ever knew under the microscope of extreme doubt, just to find his footing. And that leaves us with a pretty powerful question for ourselves. If you were to do the same, if you were to question everything you believe, everything you take for granted, what would be left? What's the one unshakable truth that would survive? What is the foundation that all of your other beliefs are built on?